Harper Audio presents The Condition by Jennifer Haigh. Performed by Jennifer Van Dyck. Copyright 2008 by Jennifer Haigh. Production copyright 2008 by HarperCollins Publishers. (1976). The Captain's House. Summer comes late to Massachusetts. The gray spring is frosty, unhurried, wet snow on the early plantings, a cold lesson for optimistic gardeners, for those who have not learned. Chimneys smoke until Memorial Day. Then all at once the ceiling lifts, the sun fires, scorching the muddy ground. At Cape Cod, the rhythm is eternal, unchanging. Icy tides smash the beaches, then cold ones, then cool. The bay lies warming in the long days. Blue-lipped children brave the surf. They opened the house the third week in June, the summer of the bicentennial, and of Paulette's 35th birthday. She drove from Concord to the train station in Boston, where her sister was waiting, then happily surrendered the wheel. Martine was better in traffic. She'd been better in school, on the tennis court. For 2 years straight, she'd been the top-ranked singles player at Wellesley. Now, at 38, Martine was a career girl, still a curiosity in those days, at least in her family. She worked for an advertising agency on Madison Avenue. Doing what, precisely, Paulette was not certain. Her sister lived alone in New York City, a prospect she found terrifying. But Martine had always been fearless. The station wagon was packed with Paulette's children and their belongings. Billy and Gwen, 14 and 12, rode in the back seat, a pile of beach towels between them. Scotty, 9, and so excited about going to the Cape that he was nearly insufferable, had been banished to the rear. "God, would you look at this?" Martine downshifted, shielding her eyes from the sun. The traffic had slowed to a crawl. The big American engines idled loudly, the stagnant air rich with fumes. The Sagamore Bridge was still half a mile away. "It gets worse every year. Too many goddamned cars." A giggle from the back seat. Gwen, probably. Paulette frowned. She disapproved of cursing, especially by women, especially in front of children. "And how was the birthday?" Martine asked. "I can't believe La Petite Paulette is 35. Did you do anything special?" Her tone was casual. She may not have known it was a tender subject. Like no birthday before, this one had unsettled Paulette. The number seemed somehow significant. She'd been married 15 years, but only now did she feel like a matron. "Frank took me into town. We had a lovely dinner." She didn't mention that he'd also reserved a room at the Ritz, a presumptuous gesture that irritated her. Like all Frank's presents, it was a gift less for her than for himself. "Will he grace us with his presence this year?" Paulette ignored the facetious tone. "Next weekend, maybe, if he can get away. If not, then definitely for the 4th. "He's teaching this summer?" "No," Paulette said carefully. "He's in the lab." She always felt defensive discussing Frank's work with Martine, who refused to understand that he wasn't only a teacher, but also a scientist. Molecular developmental biology, Paulette said when anyone asked what he studied. This usually discouraged further questions. Frank's lab worked year-round, 7 days a week. Last summer, busy writing a grant proposal, he hadn't come to the Cape at all. Martine seemed to take this as a personal slight, though she'd never seemed to enjoy his company. "He's an academic," she'd said testily. "He gets the summers off. Isn't that the whole point?" It was clear from the way she pronounced the word what she thought of academics. Martine saw in Frank the same flaws Paulette did, his obsession with his work, his smug delight in his own intellect. She simply didn't forgive him, as Paulette, as women generally, always had. Frank had maintained for years that Martine hated him, a claim Paulette dismissed. "Don't be silly. She's very fond of you." Why tell such a lie? Because Martine was family, and she ought to be fond.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?